Hello everybody, welcome one more time. My name is Alex Centeno with Mercados Interactive Partners, and in this episode we're going to be taking a look at how to install WordPress. WordPress is a very common, very used content management system and blogging platform, and increasingly I've seen interest from small business owners on how to install their own blogging platform, their own blog with WordPress, and so I'm sure that by looking at this webcast, you're going to be able to grasp the main concepts around installing your own blog and start posting, and then after that you can just learn how to install plugins, install themes and things of that nature that are a little bit more advanced. But this would be the basics, and so if you're more of an advanced user, then this video might not be for you, but it might refresh some things that you might not know yet. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and dig into it. So the first thing that we're going to do is obviously go to wordpress.org and download the WordPress code. So hit where it says download, and go ahead and save it somewhere that you know where it is. And there it is. And so I'm just going to show it here in the Finder, and I am going to move all those good old files. I'm going to move them to my desktop, and in my desktop I'm just going to go ahead and move that into my example so that we can just work in there. There you go, perfect. Alright, so once you've downloaded WordPress, then you're going to get a zip file. You're going to uncompress the zip file, and once you have that, then you're going to upload it to your hosting. Now, there are different levels in having a website or a blog, and the first level is called the domain name level, and that only allows you to have a particular domain name. So for example, in this example here, you see that the domain name is wordpress.org. That's the domain name, and basically WordPress has purchased this domain, or the right of use of this domain name, but that doesn't give them anything else other than that right. That right is purchased in a yearly basis. The second level is the hosting level, and that refers to a space in a public server that allows you to transmit some of your files to other computers on the web or some browsers. So the hosting layer you're going to need. So the first layer is going to be your domain name, and you're going to purchase a domain name. And then you're going to need a hosting provider so that you can have content hosted in on the web. Okay, so after you sign up for your hosting provider, you're going to get your account information, just something like this. And I'm giving you this example. So your domain would be, well, in this example, I'm just using mytraining.com as if that was the domain name. But obviously you would change this to your actual domain name, and they're going to give you an IP, and they're going to give you all sorts of little information that at this point is not that important, but we're going to use that information to set up your FTP client. Okay, so you're going to need an FTP application. FTP stands for File Transfer Protocol, and so that FTP client is going to allow you to transmit information from your local computer to the hosting account. Okay, so since I'm using a Mac, I'm using an application named Transmit, and There are many others out there that you can use. For example, FileZilla is one of them that is open source, so you don't have to pay for it. You can download it for free on the web, FileZilla. And pretty much all FTP clients or applications, they pretty much operate in the same way. And let's take a look. You're going to have, and let me just move this out of the way. You're going to have, and let's move this out of the way too for now. Okay, so you're going to have mainly two windows in every FTP application. The left window refers to your local files, and your right window refers to your remote files, or the files that are in your hosting account. So by dragging and dropping from one side to another, you can move things from locally to remote, and from remote to being local. Okay, so let's go ahead and set the information here so that we can connect to our hosting account. So what we're going to need is the information provided by the hosting company or the hosting provider. And so all we're going to do is, well, first of all, the server. So the server is the same as the IP, so you can use that. Sometimes it is also referred as FTP dot your domain name, but you can use the IP of the hosting itself. The username is the username, and the password is the password that you selected. Okay, initial path we're going to leave alone, and then the default port is 21, and most of the time that's going to remain the same, but otherwise they would list the port if it's different than the default in your settings, the ones that they send you. So if we go ahead and connect, you're going to see that automatically comes with some files in there, and so the public HTML is going to contain all the files that are available via the internet with the browser. So you can access all these files from a browser. So everything that goes into the public HTML folder is going to be accessible via a browser. Obviously, there are some files here that are not going to be directly accessible because browsers only can read certain kind of files. But for the most part, everything that you put in this folder is going to be accessible. So, since we are not going to be needing this too for right now, we're going to just delete them, which is the images and the post info. And actually, let me just go ahead and show you what happens if we take a look with the browser right here. So if we go there at mytraining.com here, you can see that we get these folders and this post info HTML file by default. Okay, let's just close that. So when I delete this too, we're just gonna get the CGI bin, which is okay to live there by now. So let me go ahead and delete this from here, which is the remote. And it asks me if I'm sure that I want to delete them, and I say yes, and as you can see, they're gone. And if we refresh here, they should be gone, and indeed they are. Okay, great. So the second thing that we're going to do is we're going to move certain files, or the files that we downloaded with WordPress, to our public HTML file or folder. I'm sorry. So let's double click and see all those files right there, and as you can see, all of them are the ones that we need to move so that we install WordPress. So let's go ahead and select all of them by clicking. You can just click and drag just like this, or you can click the first one and then click shift and click the last one, and by holding the shift key you would select all of them at the same time. So you can use any of those, or you can also click Command A to select all of them at the same time. Command A to select all of them. So the most important part is to know that you're selecting all of your files in your local machine, and we're going to move them. So you click and drag and you drop them on the other side, and you can see here that it gives you an idea of what is being transferred and what's happening with the transfer of those files. Okay, we're going to leave the FTP client doing that for now while we are doing some other things that we're going to be needing. So let's go ahead to a browser, and we're not going to refresh this for now. But another thing that is provided by the hosting company is something called your cPanel. Okay, and your cPanel comes with your hosting account. So there's nothing else you need to do. So we take a look at my training. It's not even working because we haven't, our FTP client is still uploading some files, so some of them haven't been uploaded. So if you visit here, you're going to see some errors, whatnot, problems there. So what we're going to do is configure some of the things that we need from our control panel. And to get to our control panel, in most hosting providers, you're going to just type cPanel at the end of your domain name. So domain name /cPanel, and then enter. And it's going to ask you for a username and password. So your username is again going to be your username. This case is training. And your password that you selected. You hit login, and there you go. You get this control panel, which gives you all sorts of preferences and things. If you have some questions or you want to learn more, you can always take a look at the video tutorials, getting started wizard, things like that. But for the most part, to install your blog, what you're going to need is to create something to hold the information or the posts of your blog, right? And this is going to be in the section of a database. So a database basically is just a group of files, or a file or group of files that allow you to save some information and then retrieve it in an organized way. So we're going to go down to the place where it says databases, and we're going to click where it says MySQL databases. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and create a new database. So we're going to give it a name. In this case, I'm just going to do W1 to create that. Okay, and it says that it added the database training _W1. So it appends the training or your username before the name that we gave it. So as you can see, we're going to just say database is going to be training _W1. Write it down just to remember that. And then let's go back. Okay. Also, we need to create a username or a user that is going to have permissions to use that database. In other words, we're not talking about a user to use your blog. This is only a user. We're going to create a user that can access the database. Okay. So here, MySQL users,